Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started. WWE veteran Paul Heyman has now reacted to the events of last week's edition of SmackDown. On the show, Jimmy USO told Roman Reigns that the duo needed help in their quest to put down the bloodline. Roman Reigns lost the undisputed WWE title to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania XL. He then went on a hiatus, and Solo Sikoa took over the bloodline in his absence. Under his leadership, the group underwent massive changes. He kicked out Heyman and Jimmy USO and brought in Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu. Reigns is now back and wants nothing but to destroy the bloodline. On last week's episode of WWE SmackDown, Solo's bloodline attacked Reigns and Jimmy USO and left them lying in the ring as the show went off the air. Jimmy was seen telling the OTC that they needed help. Now, Paul Heyman has finally reacted to the events of SmackDown on X/Twitter. Check out his tweet here. Jimmy USO returns to WWE SmackDown, tells Roman Reigns we need help. How was Paul Heyman kicked out of the bloodline by Solo Sikoa? Not long after kicking Jimmy USO out of the bloodline, Solo Sikoa set his sights on Heyman. He told the veteran to acknowledge him as his tribal chief, and the wise men ended up saying no to a loud pop from the fans in attendance. An irate Solo then attacked Heyman, and the bloodline destroyed him as the show went off the air. It's been some time since Heyman was last seen on WWE TV. Fans are eagerly waiting to see him make a return to WWE TV and reunite with Roman Reigns. In the dimly lit backstage area of WWE SmackDown, the atmosphere was charged with tension. The hum of excitement from the fans in the arena was a stark contrast to the quiet chaos backstage, where the tension among the bloodline was palpable. Paul Heyman, the master strategist and advocate for Roman Reigns, sat in a corner, deep in thought. The previous week's events played on a loop in his mind: Jimmy USO's desperate plea to Roman Reigns, a moment that had changed the landscape of the bloodline. Jimmy's words, "We need help," had echoed throughout the arena, resonating with the fans and sending ripples through the fabric of the faction. It was a call for unity, but also a signal of desperation. Heyman could see the cracks forming within the group, cracks that could potentially fracture the legacy Roman had built over the years. As the wise man of the WWE, he understood the implications of this moment all too well. As he waited, Paul's mind raced. He considered the implications of Jimmy's plea. The tension between Jay and Roman had reached a boiling point, and now Jimmy was thrusting himself into the middle of the chaos. This wasn't just about family, it was about the very foundation of the bloodline. Roman had always been the tribal chief, the leader of the family, and Jimmy's words could either fortify that leadership or unravel it completely. Suddenly, a soft knock interrupted his thoughts. It was Jimmy, looking more vulnerable than ever. He stepped into the room, the weight of the world heavy on his shoulders. "Paul," he began, his voice shaky. "I need to talk." "Talk, Jimmy," Heyman replied, his tone calm yet probing. "You've already said what needs to be said in the ring. Now, we must navigate the aftermath of your words." Jimmy shifted uncomfortably, running a hand through his hair. I feel like things are spiraling. Jay's not talking to Roman, and I don't know how to fix it. I meant what I said. We need help. We can't let this fall apart." Heyman leaned forward, his expression serious. "You do realize the gravity of what you've said, don't you? By admitting you need help, you've exposed a vulnerability. Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, does not show weakness. He commands respect through strength, not through asking for assistance." "But Paul, this is family," Jimmy implored. "We can't let pride get in the way. Jay and Roman need to come together. If they don't, it'll tear us apart." Heyman sighed, contemplating Jimmy's words. He knew that family ties were complicated, especially in the world of wrestling, where the lines between loyalty and ambition blurred constantly. "What you're asking for is delicate. You want me to convince Roman to reconcile with Jay. You want me to mend what's been broken. But, Jimmy, what you fail to see is that every decision has consequences. Consequences? Jimmy echoed, frustration creeping into his voice. We're talking about my brother. The consequences of inaction could be worse than anything. If they don't work this out, it could cost us everything we've built. The bloodline isn't just a group, it's our legacy. Paul raised an eyebrow, intrigued by Jimmy's passionate plea. Legacy? Ah, the weight of legacy. You see, Jimmy, legacy is what Roman has built for himself. He's not just a champion, he's the champion. But he cannot afford to show weakness. If he extends a hand to Jay, what does that say about his reign? What message does that send to the rest of the roster? That he's a leader who values family over ego. Jimmy shot back, his voice rising. He needs to be willing to work with us, not just dictate what we do. I'm not asking for much. Just a chance for the three of us to sit down and talk this out like brothers. Heyman pondered this, his mind racing with the potential outcomes. You want me to broker peace. You want me to facilitate a conversation between two men who are at war with each other. This is risky, Jimmy. What if it backfires? What if Roman refuses to bend? I don't know, Jimmy admitted, his resolve faltering. But I can't sit back and watch this implode. I'm asking for your help, Paul. You know Roman better than anyone. You can get through to him. Heyman regarded Jimmy with a mixture of admiration and pity. The young USO was caught in the crossfire of loyalty and duty, a family member desperate to save his brothers from themselves. He was well aware of the familial bonds, having navigated the treacherous waters of wrestling politics for years. Very well, Paul said, straightening up. I will speak to Roman. But you must understand that the outcome is uncertain. He may not take kindly to your admission of weakness. Are you prepared for that? Jimmy nodded, determination reigniting in his eyes. I'll do whatever it takes. This isn't just about the titles or the fame. It's about us. It's about family. Paul stood up, the wheels in his mind turning. Then we proceed. But remember, Jimmy, the road to unity is fraught with danger. You must be ready for the possibility that the answer may not be what you hope for. As Jimmy left the room, Paul felt a sense of weight lift, replaced by an even heavier burden. He had committed to attempting to repair the fractured bond within the bloodline, a task he knew would not be easy. He had always been the voice of reason, the mastermind behind Roman's ascent to the top. Yet, this time, the stakes felt different. Minutes later, he found himself standing outside Roman's locker room, taking a deep breath to steady his nerves. He knocked lightly, and Roman's voice called from inside, "Come in." The tribal chief sat on a bench, the championship belt resting on his shoulder, his expression a mask of stoic power. "Paul," he acknowledged, a hint of curiosity in his voice. "What's on your mind?" "Jimmy spoke to me today," Heyman began cautiously. "He expressed concerns about the tension between you and Jay. He believes we need to come together as a family and discuss the issues at hand." Roman's gaze hardened, his body tense. "I don't need a family meeting, Paul. I'm the tribal chief. I lead this family, and they need to understand that. But what they understand is crucial, Roman. Jimmy believes that admitting you need help is a sign of strength, not weakness. He fears the rift will tear the bloodline apart," Heyman pressed, gauging Roman's reaction. "Then they need to get their act together. I'm not here to coddle anyone." "They need to follow my lead," Roman replied, his voice firm. "Leadership sometimes means recognizing when to bend," Paul urged, sensing the inflexibility in Roman's demeanor. "This isn't just about power, it's about legacy. If you want your legacy to endure, it must include your family standing united behind you." Roman paused, his expression softening for just a moment, as if contemplating the weight of his decisions. "You really think I should talk to them?" "I believe it's worth a conversation," Heyman replied, his voice steady. "Legacy is built on both strength and unity. It's time to show that you are not just a champion, but also a family leader." Give them the chance to speak. With a slight nod, Roman's walls began to crack. Fine. I'll think about it. But if they don't understand my position, then it's on them. As Paul left the room, he felt a sense of cautious optimism. He had navigated the storm, but the true test lay ahead. Would Jimmy's plea for help resonate with Roman, or would the cracks in the bloodline become irreparable? The following week, the arena buzzed with anticipation as fans filled the seats, eager for the fallout from the previous events. Heyman knew the moment had arrived. He had paved the way, and now it was time for the bloodline to confront their demons together. As Roman made his entrance, flanked by Jimmy and Jay, the tension was palpable. Would this moment signify a new beginning for the bloodline, or would it be a fateful clash of egos? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain: Paul Heyman's influence had sparked the flame of hope amidst the chaos, and now the legacy of the bloodline hung in the balance.